Hey, we got a trailer. We got a trailer for season 2 of Baby Yoda. I mean, The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. And I have before me 7 talking points that I want to go over, but I think that it is absolutely necessary to start first and foremost by observing and appreciating the fact this is a television show. In essence, this is a television show. With the acting caliber that we're getting, with the writing caliber that we're getting, with the visuals that we're getting, with the sound. Listen to this thing and the way it's orchestrated. Listen to the music behind this thing. I think if you've seen this show once, you remember the Mandalorian theme, which is stunning. Absolutely. So there's not too many shows anymore where that's true. It was a hallmark of television in, say, the late 80s to early 90s, where you would have to have an absolutely killer opening song. I don't know what they call it, whatever they call it. You can think back if you hear the Friends theme. I know that was a song before it was the Friends theme, but it's the Friends theme. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but if I heard 3 notes from the Roseanne Show's song, Full House, any of these shows, you would recognize them. The Mandalorian is that way. Not only that, the music for The Mandalorian has its own DNA. If you were to hear any of these songs that is utilized in the show, you would probably be able to, it would put you in the mind of The Mandalorian. It would take you back to the episodes of The Mandalorian. But the first thing that I observed in the trailer itself is just how rugged. I don't remember what the Mandalorian's ship is called, but in that opening and establishing shot, as they are passing over a Mars-looking planet on the way to an Earth-looking planet, the back hatch is open and the right engine is aflutter. So I think that Jon Favreau is nobody's fool. He knows exactly what he's doing here. And one of the big gripes about the prequel trilogy when it came to Star Wars is that everything was so nice and shiny. So what he's doing is he's putting you right back in the mindset of the good Star Wars, the middle trilogy. It's so hard for me to keep things sort of on the level because I'm not really a Star Wars guy, so I don't know everything that's the ins and outs of this thing. But that middle trilogy, everything was roughed up. Everything was kind of broken, and is one of the charms of Star Wars. So when we get that establishing shot for what is essentially the establishing shot for season 2, it's the first shot from the first trailer for the second season. It's kind of broken down. But it also tells us a lot about where it is that The Mandalorian will be going in this season. One of the primary criticisms of the most recent trilogy is that no one's ever really in danger. No one struggles. That was not the case through The Mandalorian Season 1. That character struggled mightily. That character struggled often. So that was interesting to see. We also get our first glimpse of Cara Dune and Greef Karga returning, which is nice to see. It is nice to understand that these characters are going to be returning for the second season of this show. They were highlights in the first season, which was itself a highlight. There were criticisms of that first season of The Mandalorian, but Cara Dune and Greef Karga were not among them. So it is nice to see not only that they will be returning, but we have every reason to give benefit of the doubt to our showmakers here and understand that Greef Karga and Cara Dune will be necessary characters. They're going to be coming back for a reason. Moving on, I am not sure who that hooded character was, the mysterious hooded character that pops up when the Mandalorian, when Mando is speaking about sorcerers and speaking about Jedi, referencing obviously Jedi. um, sort of, to me, looked like Rosario Dawson. It looked like Rosario Dawson with Ahsoka Tano's. I can never get these names right. You can tell I'm not a Star Wars guy. Ahsoka Tano looked like Rosario Dawson a little bit. I mean, enough. I mean, really look at that face. It looks like Rosario Dawson with Ahsoka Tano's skin tone, which is orangish. To me, anyway, it looked like Rosario Dawson. So I am not sure if that is exactly what is going on there. It would be counterintuitive given the history of the secrecy behind and the love for surprises with The Mandalorian. Remember, no one knew anything about Baby Yoda until the end of that first episode. So it would be uncharacteristic for them to have slipped Ahsoka Tano. Okay, damn it. Ahsoka Tano into this teaser trailer. So maybe that's why they did it. Is it something hidden in the last place you would look, which is the first place you see? I don't know. But it was obviously someone who will become a prevalent figure. They didn't accidentally focus in on that character. It was pleasing, I think, to see another Dathomirian. Look, I had to Google Darth Maul's race. I don't know the name. I do remember that in season 1 of The Mandalorian, there is a fight scene with a Dathomirian. Dathomirian. With a Darth Maul person. Was that a Dathomirian that got a knife to the chest at basically a UFC fight, UFC with axes? It will be interesting. It will be charming if what ends up happening is that the recurring role of a Dathomirian in this series is someone who is just, first off, I don't think the individual in the first season was tatted up either. This individual was not tatted up. It is, if I understand this, now this came out when I was in the 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. It is customary with the Dathomirians to have the facial tattoos. I don't believe the individual in the first season was tatted up. This individual, I don't think was tatted up. So are they like Boba Fett? Boba Fett was not a real Mandalorian. He stole the stuff. Are these Dathomirians not real Dathomirians? They are defectors from the Dathomirian race, tribe, peopleage. I don't know how you say that. But it would be interesting if it would be charming, I think, if one of the recurring roles in this series is a Dathomirian showing up just to be a violent person. That would be funny to me. The next thing that I have, now the next two things, my last 2 points here, I've marked all over myself somehow. The last 2 points I have here to talk about are about the overarching Star Wars-ology, as opposed to simply this trailer. The first thing, holy moly, what a reclamation of Star Wars. What a reclamation of Star Wars this series has been to this point. I don't think anyone is arguing against a second season of The Mandalorian. There were a lot of people arguing against the second episode of our most recent trilogy. Many more arguing against the third episode of the most recent trilogy. And many, many more arguing against any more episodes of another trilogy. But no one's arguing against this, which I think speaks very greatly about the fact that Star Wars does still hold a very favorable place in the American mythos, in the American mind, in the world mind, really. I mean, the Star Wars fans, the main way that I kept up with The Mandalorian in the first season was through reaction episodes. It was interesting to me. It was interesting to me that it was such a cultural event, and people loved it so much. And the outpouring of emotion around the fact that The Mandalorian was real Star Wars and was not any of these bastardized interpretations of Star Wars. So it was really interesting to me to keep up with that. And the fact that in the pantheon of pop culture, perhaps nothing is as powerful as Star Wars when Star Wars is done right, when Star Wars is done well. Hell, when Star Wars is done good enough. There were several of those episodes that, if you watch any of the reactions, people would start with criticism about an episode that was just good enough. But by the end of their video, they were heaping praise upon it. And I guarantee you that now, after the fact, when they have the entire series to look back on, and it's not. So I think a lot of the criticism that came down upon those episodes that were good enough is because they were 36 minutes and people had waited an entire week in order to get their fix on in a series that had been so fruitful for them in their fandom. So when they drop and they're just so, well, they're just good enough. But I guarantee you, if you went back and asked any of those people now, have you rewatched that episode? Oh yeah, I've seen it again. Did you like it? Oh yeah. I liked it better the second time than the first time. So what a reclamation for Star Wars that this incarnation of that universe has had. And the last thing I have to talk about, how interesting is it to think that in 10 years, 2030, if we get there, hell, if we get out of this year, how interesting is it to think that in 2030, looking back, Baby Yoda, the Baby Yoda character, whatever his name turns out to be, might be as big a part of Star Wars culture, maybe as synonymous with Star Wars as is the Luke Skywalker character. And here's the reason why I say that. A, already universally loved. I can't think of a single individual who does not like Baby Yoda, even people who are lukewarm on the series. B, we're not following this character from the time they learn of the Jedi Order into becoming the most powerful Jedi of all time. We're following this character almost from inception. Certainly, we will be following this character from before the inception of that character being a standalone character, right? So this is the only thing I have to really associate this with is the thrill. So I'm a football fan. I'm an NFL fan. I'm a college football fan. I'm even interested in the high school recruiting scene. It's interesting to me, just the way it works. The only thing that I can think of as far as how in-depth people will feel, how connected people will feel to the success of the Baby Yoda character is the fact that a lot of these individuals that go through college football, if you're a college football fan, you hear about them their junior year in high school. So there's been several players that I've followed from their junior year in high school, which sounds creepy, until they're an NFL star. In fact, Adrian Peterson is going to go to the NFL. I've followed the career of Adrian Peterson since his junior year in high school. That will be the first individual that I have seen go from outstanding high school prospect to NFL Hall of Famer. That's a weird feeling. Thus will be the feeling of watching the progression of the Baby Yoda character. That's interesting. That's all I've got for this trailer review. I hope to see you back tomorrow. I'm dropping a video on this channel every day in the month of September, as well as on my book review channel, Strip Cover Lit, every day in the month of September. And I hope to see you both places through the rest of the month.